Well, hello everyone. I am Kathy Zellman from the Alberta Northwest Territories District Office, and I have two amazing women with me this morning from Beddington Pentecostal in Calgary. I have Elaine and I have Ray Ann, who did an amazing day camp last week. I would love to be able to hear about it. So right off the top, Lane, could you tell us who was leading the camp? How did you structure that?
Well, this was a unique season because typically day camp fall under Rayanne's thing because he's more elementary program. But due to COVID, I was a little bit more hands-on this time because we had to actually have two distinct camps in the same building due to the cohorting. So along with Rayanne and I, we also have two summer students that are heavily involved as well in the camp when it comes to administration and resources and getting the camp ready. So without them, it probably wouldn't have happened this year. We did have 48 children attend. So we had 28 boys and 18 girls. And then we also had 25 leaders that were there. We did have some adult leaders that came in just in the morning to assist us with our medical checks, our health checks, and temperature check for both our staff, our students, and our kids. So every child before they came in also needed that done. So it was quite a different type of camp, but it was a lot of fun for sure.
Awesome. And to you, Ray, what did you do to make your program as COVID safe as possible?
Yeah, so of course with COVID comes a lot of regulations that we need to follow in accordance with Alberta Health. So something that we did do is communicate very clearly with our families, with our parents, what we plan to do to keep kids safe. And of course, those are all the things that we abided by throughout the week. And so just to touch on a few of our points, one of the biggest ones, of course, was cohorts. As we know, with the day camps regulations, we can only have a max of 50 people per cohort, and that includes kids and volunteers. So because we had 48 kids, we ended up doing two cohorts. So we had a boys camp and a girls camp, and they actually operated separately all week long. They had the exact same experience, did the same activities, same open sessions, but just at different times. And in between switching in those spaces, there was, of course, sanitization, cleaning that was done before each cohort would go into a new space that the other cohort had just previously been in. So keeping those separated, making sure that we didn't go over the limit of the number of people per cohort was something that we did for safety. And of course, physical distancing wherever possible. We know it's not mandatory in cohorts as per day camp regulations, but we did our best wherever possible to maintain physical distancing in our open sessions, etc. We also did our health screening prior to every child, every volunteer, every staff coming into the building. And we also, any staff at our church who weren't involved in the camp stayed away from any of our spaces in the building that we were using. We also did a staggered drop-off and pickup time for our families. So by last name or maybe whatever would work for, different churches. But for us, we just made sure that we staggered the check-in time and the checkout time just so there wasn't a mass amount of people at the doors at the same time, because we want to make sure that adults who are dropping off their kids are also able to physical distance. And of course, whenever we shared spaces, we sanitized in between and had a cleaning and disinfecting checklist that we would go through with our volunteers between each and every switch. And as far as just like personal hygiene goes, making sure the kids are washing their hands frequently, just practicing proper like respiratory etiquette, making sure they're covering their faces like properly when they sneeze or if they cough. And we had a rapid response plan as well for if any child were to develop symptoms while at camp, then we had a space where they would be able to isolate until they're picked up. But fortunately, we didn't experience that during camp, so we didn't need to use that rapid response plan. And we kept track, of course, of our daily attendance and children packed their own food for the entire day, so their own snack, their own lunch, and their own water bottle, so that we weren't having to deal with feeding any kids or making sure that all of that was safe for everyone.
Wow. So that sounds really good to me. What I heard is that you sent this communication ahead of time to the parents of what your plan was. And when you referred to shared spaces, the two cohorts were never in the same place at one time, but they might have needed to use the same room. So it was all sanitized for the second group to come in.
Yes. So for example, we ran 2 open sessions, one for the boys and one for the girls. And then in between each open session, there was time for us to sanitize anything that was shared, as far as like equipment or door handles and all that kind of thing. And that was the case for every space that ended up being shared throughout the week.
And the easiest thing regarding food, lunch, snacks is for the kids to bring their own from home already packed, right? That'll save a lot of grief. Awesome. So moving on to the next question, Elaine, how did the kids respond to the protocols, the guidelines that you set out, and the program pieces?
The camp actually was a huge success, I think, on behalf of the kids. We did send out some feedback information from the parents, and they were very positive in their responses as well. The kids actually got used to a whole new routine that they hadn't experienced before at day camp. I mean, they came through a completely different entrance, the boys and the girls, and a different exit at the end. So even that was different from day one. Coming in the door, they experienced a health check as soon as they got there, a temperature check. When they got to the top of the stairs, they had a special place to put their bag. Then they always washed their hands before they entered the group. So even before children entered the group, they had already washed their hands. They'd already gotten used to a whole new way of doing things before they even entered the building. So those protocols were really easy for them. They also took a lot more personal responsibility when it came to cleaning their own spaces, because we didn't want to actually have the leaders touching everything that the children have touched. The children were more hands-on to ensure they were throwing away their own trash. They were taking care of their own things. They were actually helping to clean some of their own spaces. So we had some easy cleaner that wasn't harsh, and the kids would actually grab a piece of paper towel, and they would often wipe their own chairs down or their own table space at the end, just to ensure that the kids were actually more hands-on with their own germs and taking more responsibility for them, and then the staff not sharing those germs. So that was a lot of fun. When it came to the program itself, we found that the kids were very engaged in everything that was happening during the day. We didn't have a lot of kids that were refusing to participate or engage. They were just so excited to be there that we had a really positive experience with the children the whole week.
That's awesome. So you didn't have any behavioral issues. They were just happy to be there. And can you maybe highlight 2 interesting activities you did with the kids?
Well, because everything had to be very much egocentric, each child had to have their own materials, their own stuff that couldn't be shared. We actually spent a lot of time, especially Rayanne, as she was planning out the camp, coming up with activities and different ideas that we could do from day one that would create not only social distancing, but also the unsharing of any items. So we picked a lot of things where we would pre-assign, pre-fill, pre-do things, so the children basically had what they needed in front of them to do what they needed to do more independently. So instead of us coming over and pouring something or assisting, it was already set out for them. So we actually did a lot of crafts and projects like that. So we had, let me think, tie-dye shirts. They made moon dough. They did lots of different individual activities. And even for our games, that created some challenges as well, to produce different games. I mean, at a traditional day camp, you would pull out a ball and all the kids would participate, say playing a game of basketball or dodgeball. And these type of camps, that isn't going to happen. So we actually had a lot of unique games that we were able to find where the children could social distance and still participate. And it was also a game that wasn't going to overexert them, that wasn't going to cause them to, scream and yell and, and those pieces. And one interesting issue as well was, of course, open session. Producing activities and games and interaction that could be without traditional singing happening. So there was a lot of pieces. We had to be very creative, but we were able to do it.
That's awesome. I'd love to get a list of your games, recommendations that you did to be able to put into our toolbox for other children's leaders across the province. So, Ray, can you tell me how comfortable were the parents regarding the program elements coming into the building, releasing their kids for the day?
We found that parents were very encouraged to send their kids. They were willing and excited that we had something for the families. We actually sent out a parent survey at the end of camp just to ask, how was your child's experience? How was your experience as a parent? How did you feel the camp went? Was your child excited? Did they have fun? Did they learn? What activities did they enjoy the most? And we found that our feedback was very, very positive from the parents, and even parents just writing and saying, thank you so much for doing something for the kids. This is the only thing my kids have had to do in 4 months.
Wow.
And so it was an overwhelming response of just thankfulness of having something for the kids that they felt comfortable sending their kids to, but also just knowing that their kids were going to have fun and that they would be able to do something exciting over the summer. And so that was a big deal for us. And we felt really encouraged after camp hearing that feedback from our parents and just knowing that not only were they willing to send their kids, but they also were very thankful for the experience at the end of the week.
That is so positive. Wow. Incredible. Worth the effort. Would you say this was worth the effort?
Definitely. Yeah.
Else, Kathy, that we did was we also Zoomed our open session. So, and our Bible stories. So we had 15 kids / parents every day to 20 engaging as well in our camp offsite.
That's wonderful. So you had that virtual option.
Yeah, so a virtual option for the kids, but also an option for parents who want to kind of check in and see how things are operating.
Oh, yeah, because then their comfort level could be absolutely reassured by you because this is how we're doing it. That's excellent, giving them a window into your programming. So we know that the cleaning is big. Everybody knows that. But there was one thing that you felt on our camp next time in August, this is what we're going to do. Can you share with me what that is?
Well, we found that although the cleaning was, of course, very time consuming, we also found that because our staff shifting and making sure we had to make sure everybody was in their cohorts. So we didn't have a lot of room to move people around like you would in a traditional camp to clean. So we had to always pull people from our own team, our own camp to do the cleaning. And sometimes we felt we were leaving, maybe our setup wasn't happening as well in one area because we had to pull someone from that area to ensure the cleaning was done. So for our next camp, we're definitely going to make a budget within our children's budget to ensure that we have one person whose their only job is to clean. Due to COVID-19, even in our building right now, we did have cleaners come in after we were done the massive cleaning at the end of the day to ensure that it was sanitized. But it was also nice to have that one person in the building while camp is happening that would be in charge of just ensuring every space all day was being led well. So that Rayanne and I didn't have to be responsible for that piece. So part of it, our job during the day was to ensure that was being done. So it could have taken us away maybe from spending more time in other areas with our leaders. So although it got done and it got done well, I think that's one area that we would definitely recommend, finding one key volunteer or one key leader that could be responsible for that job.
And putting that in your budget as this would be a paid person so that you could really count
Yeah.
on them to do the job well.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
good.
also just
Yeah.
not on Rayanne and I to ensure that it's done well.
It'd be so awesome to not even have to think about that and just concentrate on your leaders, the programming, and the kids. Absolutely.
Right.
So tell me, Ray, how did it feel to have your staff and volunteers just having those kids back in the building again?
I think it's a similar response from our staff that we got from parents, and just a feeling of, in a way, some normalcy being back in the building, having like kids having excitement, having a program where people are happy and they're engaged, I think was really, really positive. Like, we had our staff very thankful for us having the camp, and now encouraging us to do another camp in August, which we're planning to go forward with. Yeah, and it just really did bring a lot of, I think, just excitement to our staff overall, and to Elaine and I as well, just being able to get back to doing what we love to do most, right? And being able to minister to kids in person, and just having some life back in our building was a really positive experience, and definitely our staff shared in that excitement with us.
That is amazing.
Mhm.
Community, live, in-person community is what we're built for. It's what we crave. And thank you so much for being with me today. Thank you so much for being courageous to step out there and provide an amazing camp experience for these 48 kids. I'm confident that this was the highlight of their summer, and that they got to be together with other kids, with other people, doing some incredible activities that they enjoyed. And they're going to take that forward into the rest of their summer. And I look forward to hearing good reports about your second camp. So thank you for encouraging us and inspiring us across Alberta and Northwest Territories to step out and do something for the kids in the church and the community. So God bless you. Thanks for being with me today.
Yes, thank you. See you.